This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin hour number 2, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. Our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. All the buzz in Cleveland. Shador, new stadiums. You guys got a lot of things going on these days. Vegas, there's always something going on out here, obviously. And again, VGK, here's the good news. If they lose, then there's a Game 7. If they lose tonight in Minnesota, then you get a Game 7 here at T-Mobile. And it is kind of cool, Jensen, because it does still feel like a relatively newish hockey city, even though VGK's already got a Stanley Cup to their ledger. And it is funny to talk to people like, say, Mike Palm. Mike's going to join us later on this hour, too. Like, it's not supposed to be that easy. Like, we're talking about in context with Toronto, it's been forever since they've won a Stanley Cup, right? And D.C. had to break a long drought to get theirs a couple years ago. Now they're trying to get back in the winner's circle. Vegas kind of made it look easy. And I don't think it should be that easy. And fan bases out there in the NHL know exactly what I'm talking about. This is not easy to do. But you get those new things and new cities and something. I wonder if the Browns, since they have never won a Super Bowl, Jensen, if they get a new stadium there, could that be the magic elixir to maybe eliminate the curse of the Brownies?
If the Haslam sell the team, that's a huge step forward. I think that's the one part that would help. Hey, this is the AFC North. We know that this division is going to be as tough as nails year in and year out. The AFC overall isn't, getting any easier. So as you and I well know, it's about quarterback play. I told you yesterday, and for people who don't realize it, the starting quarterbacks of all 32 NFL teams, I think last year, every one of them was selected in the first 53 picks.
That's right.
So just wrap your head around that. If you want to kind of look towards, where those iterations are of draft day and things of that nature, that's just last year. And I would have to believe the prevailing sentiment, Dave, is that you need a first-round talent, a guy that is a proven winner, ability, staying power, all those things. So just something to think about. Your boy Dak, I think, was a second rounder or fourth rounder?
Got him in
fourth rounder. Russell was a third rounder, and then I think Geno, Jalen were second rounders. Everyone else was like a first rounder. So just for people looking at like, okay, are we almost there? That's your litmus test. Does your quarterback fit the first 53 picks of the draft? If he does, then he's got a pretty good shot.
And people forget this. When the Cowboys drafted Dak Prescott, Tony Romo was the starting quarterback.
Right.
Kellen Moore was the backup quarterback. And then all of a sudden in that preseason trade, Dak goes down for the year. Tony Romo goes down. He came back later, but Dak was playing so well they didn't make the change. Kellen Moore got hurt, so all of a sudden Dak, the fourth rounder, got pressed into service. I don't know if that's what it's going to take for Shador to get in there, but it seems like you would think that Flacco and or Pickett, one of those guys would have to go down to make that change, like the Cowboys did in yesteryear to the fourth-round pick, Shador, of course, being the fifth-round pick. And, by the way, in D.C., they're very excited because they're going to be moving to the district, as we talked about earlier this week, probably not till 2030. So, Jensen, I don't have to worry about the Commanders winning anything till at least 2030. I think we can say they're not winning anything right now out there where they're playing. I know I say that in jest. They might win the division this year. Let's get to year 2. It's time for our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
Speaking of kids, how about Noah Cameron? Shy young fella. The lefty looking pretty darn good. Took a no bid up there later in this game here against the Rays. I got to catch a little bit of this one. Took it into the 7th inning. Great defense behind him, by the way. Kansas City goes on to win the game 3-0. Tell me about this kid. Number 5 prospect in their system. Gets called up for a spot start for Cole Reagans. And he looked really good. We just talked about it with injury, how some of these quarterbacks get their debuts and all of a sudden you get to be pressed into action. He was ready for that ball, and the lefty did not blink.
Yeah, drafted by the Royals in the 7th round of the 2021 draft at a University of Central Arkansas. For those that know where that is, congratulations, you are a winner. And he certainly made a debut of debuts. What a job, not only for him in Cole Reagan's stead, but also overall to help a Royals team, Dave, that has scored the lowest runs per game in the majors, yet they have a winning record. And these are things you look at when you start to identify. We asked Berkey about this yesterday. As you get to the first week or two of May, that's the first time that baseball front offices take a look at their team and do a deep dive of what do we feel we're really good at? What do we feel our shortcomings are? And for Kansas City to be 16-15, they're just 3 games out from the top spot of the American League in the Detroit Tigers. We say that because the Royals are the only American League team, too, that have scored under 100 runs.
Wow.
So just wrap your head around a couple of things. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They haven't really been prolific offensively, in which just a year ago it was Bobby Witt Jr., it was Vinny Pasquantino, it was Salvador Perez. They get Jonathan India this year. They're going to get it figured out, Dave. And if they're doing this from a pitching standpoint right now, the offense, once it finally catches its second wind, is going to get them into contention. I bring that up because I know you and I very high on them. We picked them to win the Central Division.
Mm-hmm.
You can still get them at a plus $1.35, I believe, on DraftKings to make the postseason. And this division price, I think, is very palatable. If you haven't jumped in yet, plus 450 for the Royals at DraftKings as well to get in. Buddy, we sit here and we reiterate this to people. The American League is going to have the most parity. I said I'm still on record. I still believe it. It's the most parity we've seen in the American League in a long, long time. A lot of teams are live in the junior circuit to not only get to the postseason, but to get to the Fall Classic.
Yeah, be ready. We're just talking about it in context with the quarterbacks. He was ready to go. 3-0 in that win. They won 3-1 yesterday, as you mentioned, down there in Tampa. And I was watching this and the highlights of it, Jensen. Is there something about you always want to play great defense, but you get the kid up there, spot starred. It's supposed to be Reagan's. And the defense, man, they made some incredible plays behind him to keep that no going. Is it because the no-hitter's going that the defense is really on their toes? Is it's the kid and they want to show this guy, hey, you're in the bigs, we got your back here, kid. Just put it in play, we'll get this done. Is that a real thing or just one of those nights where everything's clicking defensively?
You're pretty aware of what's happening, and I think that always translates to fielders saying, I need to be ready because I don't want to be the guy that makes the error. I don't want to be the guy that lets the ball through. Right. So each inning, as much as you stay away from the pitcher and you don't talk to him in the dugout, it's active conversations amongst the position players. Like, okay, we see who's coming up. All right, where do you want me to position? Okay, we got to be ready. Again, usually in those scenarios, Dave, whenever you have a no-hitter or a perfect game, you will have a defensive gem or two that keeps it alive at some point. So, those guys are aware of it as much as the pitcher is.
I love that. I absolutely love that's the mentality. It's like, man, we want to keep this thing going as long as we can get going. And there might have been 3 or 4 plays that you could circle with a star. It was spectacular defense yesterday from the Royals. It's a really sad story that we came across and wanted to bring it up. It's like, do you remember Jordan Travis? We do, of course. But, this will be one of those guys you go, remember Jordan Travis at Florida State and how good he was, how bright the future was. And he got, they drafted him in New York, and it's like they wanted to stash him away until the kid could get healthy because he was just that supreme a talent. Retiring at the age of 24 from the NFL, really from football here, so we never really got to see him at the NFL. Remember, he was a 5th-round pick of the Jets. Put that in context with Shedeur. They drafted him, the Jets, in the 5th round, knowing that it was going to be a year, whatever it might be, to get his legs right and to try to see what this talent could fully be realized. We're never going to see it, Jensen, because he had to shut it down. He said it was on advisement from his doctors, that he was just never going to be healthy enough to play this game. It's one of those sad stories that will get lost as time goes on, obviously. But, boy, if you watched him at Tallahassee, you really saw why he was up for the Heisman, potentially could have been. Remember the undefeated season? If Jordan Travis doesn't go down, Florida State's probably in the college football playoff. That's how dynamic this kid was.
First Seminoles quarterback, by the way, with 3 wins against Miami. I mean, you think about the great talent that has come through, even as far back as the Bobby Bowden era. And those matchups when the Hurricanes were a force to be reckoned with. I mean, that kind of tells you, a bit of the pedigree here. And you said it, Shedeur, a 5th round selection. Jordan Travis, a 171 overall there out of Florida State in 2023. So very sad day for them. As far as the Jets, though, have you seen the video of our man Justin Fields? There is a load of hype.
Really?
The mechanics have changed, the physical, the way he's moving. I tell you what, it's again, athlete to athlete watching. I'm like, this ain't the same guy I was watching last year. So be ready for some Jets futures here in the coming weeks.
All I know is this. If he excels in New York with the Jets and Caleb Williams does not have this big takeoff in year 2, Bears fans are going to be apoplectic.
Yes.
They're going to lose their friggin' minds. They're going to, see? We told you we should have kept Justin Fields. By the way, I'm a big Fields guy in respects of he made no excuses last year when he got benched after getting off to a really good start with the Steelers and they went to Russ. He was like, this wasn't my job. You got to earn the job every day. And he was such a pro. I thought with the way he handled himself there that I'm glad he's been afforded another opportunity with the Jets. I'm rooting for the kid. I really like him from what you saw in Chicago than what you've seen in Pittsburgh. So he's getting a third opportunity here. But, yeah, Bears fans are going to lose their minds if he's as good as what you're seeing right now on tape, Jensen, this early out because they will go, that should have been our guy all along. Right now, we got a great deal. It's a 14-month deal right now for just $199. So you're basically getting 2 extra months for free when you use the promo code PRO. So go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Again, this is going to cover you for 14 months for just $199. Email Daily Best Bets from Bill 80. Amazing job there. Exclusive betting splits, VSiN Watch app, all the access to it. Check it out, VSiN.com.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books. The great Mike Palm's going to call us in the next segment, so get ready for Palm's Pressing 3. That'll be coming up next. I'm sure it's going to be... I never know what Mike's going to ask you, but I'm assuming there's going to be some baseball questions, and I'm sure you'll be prepared, as you always are. We mentioned the Reds here coming off that doubleheader sweep last night. At the hands of the St. Louis Cardinals. Before we get to the Daily Diamond, we were talking during the break here, Jensen. The reason why we like this team so much is when you look inside the numbers, they can score. And I know some people are going to go, well, 24 runs against Baltimore might skew those numbers. They've already been shut out, I believe, 3 times at home already in the month of April. And they were shut out for the entire year, I think 4 times last year. So, they've had some anomalies either way. So I think those numbers are pretty accurate so far with Cincinnati.
Yeah, and they're 4th in run differential right now, just in the National League, and they're only 5 games back of the Mets for the top overall spot in the senior circuit. Again, wrap your head around that, where they've given away probably 3 or 4 games already this year, and so that's your difference right now of where they could be amongst the top teams in the National League.
I'm just saying, at our ticket price that we got, $68.50? We had to take that shot. We're taking a long shot here with the Reds for best record in the month of May, and we're just hoping they got that double dip sweep out of their system yesterday against St. Louis. Well, let's get to it. Without further ado, it's time for today's edition of the Daily Diamond. Selfishly, I was kind of happy the Buccos came back and beat the Cubs yesterday while the Reds were getting swept, right? As you kind of keep one eye on that divisional price as the year goes on. But today it is Paul Skeens Day for the Cubs in Pittsburgh. And, Jensen, there's really been no signs of a sophomore slump?
He's been phenomenal, and if you look just at his last 3 starts overall, remember he just had coming off that gem against the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Last 3 starts, .40 ERA, 19 strikeouts, just 1 walk in 19 1/3. He gets a series finale today against the Chicago Cubs. Brian Reynolds, by the way, shout out Vandy boys, 7 for 12, 2 doubles and a homer career against Colin Ray, who would take the mound for the Cubs today. My leans so far, I like Paul Skeens under Jr., 4.5 hits, minus $1.05 at DraftKings. Brian Reynolds, 2 or more total bases at plus $1.25. Those would be the two that I would look at targeting this game this afternoon.
You know what we love to do, because some of us old heads in baseball, we love to do the comparative shopping. Who is Paul Skeens? Can you, when you look historically, like I know some Nolan Ryan comparisons and kind of been thrown out there a little bit. Are we not seeing a sophomore slump because the mechanics are just so sound?
Yeah, and I think it's the movement part too. Like, again, yeah, you have the triple-digit fastball, but the off speed and the crispness of the way he commands that this early in his career, it just sets yourself up for when you have your misses. You can afford to miss, in different places where most mortal men cannot.
Right.
And so that's again, he's an immense talent. He works so hard, but the location and in the strike zone when he needs to be has been just utterly phenomenal thus far.
Yeah, I do see some Ryan in there when you get that up in the triple digits, the way Nolan was able to roll that out for decades and really just repeat that same precision with that delivery. Hopefully we'll see that with Paul Skeens for decades to come as well. A's and Rangers, what do you have today in this tilt?
All right, my man, Molly. Tyler Molly going to take the mound for the Rangers in their series finale against the Athletics today. At home, almost untouchable. How about a .46 ERA in 4 games started?
Wow.
Through 19 2/3. Couple that, Dave, with the Las Vegas Athletics in Sacramento. They are 0-3 in road series finales thus far this season. So Tyler Mahle over 17.5 outs recorded like that lean today. Marcus Semien has started to come on here a little bit. He was batting, I think, $141 through his first 25 games. 2 or more hits, runs, RBI at minus $1.20. Absolutely, we'll hop on that for him this afternoon.
And I'm with you on that. If you're going to play in Sacramento, call them the Sacramento A's for a year.
Like Sacramento A's of Las Vegas, yes.
Right? Like if I'm Sacramento, like you're playing in our ballpark, you're in our city. Like we can't even get the name attached to it. Boy, how about north of the border? What do you got today with the Sox against the Jays?
So it's a double-edged sword here. Socking it to them is the title, and it's on both sides. So one of the great hitter versus pitcher matchups of the day. Jarren Duran is 9 for 18, and It's not just a 500 average, Dave. It is damage. 5 doubles, 3 homers. So 8 of the 9 hits for extra bases against Jose Barrios, north of the border. Now, the Blue Jays side, pretty solid as well. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 350 average, 2 doubles career against Tanner Houck. So here are the leans initially. Jarren Duran, 2 or more hits, runs, RBIs, minus $1.65, and for good reason. I do like Jose Barrios under 17.5. It is plus $1.10. Do think the Red Sox offense can get to him. A bonus lean for you. If you want to go up and you think Duran continues this extra base onslaught, 4 or more total bases, all right, is plus 320. Not mad at you if you think it's a pair of doubles or if he takes it all in one swing there with a home run. I think it's a nice little lean to go after as well.
By the way, what a terrible loss yesterday for the Sox against the Blue Jays. 7-6 with the Blue Jays coming back to get that win. Is there ever a hangover effect when you have one like that where you're up 6-0 going to the bottom of the 6th? And we saw there was no hangover effect for the Mets where they blew that 7-1 lead against the Nationals last week. But, like, that's a pretty bad one if you're Beantown and you're up 6-0 and can't get the job done there.
It's tough, right? And we mentioned just where the American League overall. So, the Red Sox just 2.5 games back of the Tigers for the top spot overall in the league. They are 9-9 away from Fenway Park. So a win today go a long way. And again, these are road series. If you can find ways to get them in, it just gives you that much more margin of error in the second half of the season.
The Rocks, I still don't know how they won that game yesterday, 2-1 over Chris Sale. And the Braves are going to try to put a winning streak together as they now go to San Francisco. Jensen, what do you have for the boys from the Mile High City?
All right, so they're on the road now. The last time that the Colorado Rockies won a road game, you and I were sitting in Circa Sportsbook together.
Whoa.
It wasn't the day we were with Mike Palm, but it was March 29th when they eked out a win at George Steinbrenner Field, 2-1. That was March 29th. So, dear God, a lot's happened since then. That is the last road win for the Colorado Rockies. But here's the rub. The Giants, who will send Justin Verlander to the mound tonight, they have lost his last 3 consecutive starts. Games that he started in, they've lost those last 3. The one lean, again, shout out Vandy boys, Mike Yastrzemski. The price isn't out on DraftKings yet. But 2 or more total bases. He's had great history in this matchup, and also against Kyle Freeland, the left-hander, who will be going. So rarely do you do a left-on-left matchup that you like here. But Yaz, if he's in the lineup to get started, make sure you check those lineups too. You would assume that he would have an opportunity to do that with the great career history. But make sure you check those lineups before you enter that one as well.
That's pretty remarkable stat. Because, Jensen, if I said to you before, after March 29th, if there was a book that said, will the Rockies win a road game in April? What do you think where do you place that no? Like, I couldn't even have said, there's no way I could play the no. I would have played, of course, they're going to win a game on the road. In an entire month of Major League Baseball, and yet nary a win on the road. That's really incredible to think about. Like, where do you even begin that number? I'd have no idea, because obviously those markets don't exist. But Jensen, that is insane that you go. And the players have to know that too, right? Like, they know we haven't won on the road in a month.
Yeah, well, it's not only that, but it's probably every single day coming in and continuing to hear, this is a historically bad start. You haven't done this. You haven't done. I mean, they've already had, I think, 2 losing streaks of 8 or more games, so at least 7 or more games, I think. I mean, when the calendar just turns to May today, and that's a stat that's being written about your team. Listen, I love Buddy Black as much as anybody. A great baseball man, has been phenomenal. When do you blow it up? And there's not much to blow up there. That's the problem.
And I think they gave Bud Black a new deal.
I know. That's
right. Like,
hey, man.
Right. We're not hiring or firing anybody, but like, they just gave him a new deal, and they are 1-14 on the road, as you pointed out, Jensen. That only win in March, but they are really good at home. 4-11. 4-11. 5-25 is the start for your Colorado Rockies. All right, Derby Day, it's almost here. So why not make your first bet with your best bet? So with First Bet, you can wager on not only Churchill Downs, Belmont Park, tracks all over the world, all from your phone. All you have to do is go to firstbet.com. That's the number 1, stbet.com. Enter the promo code VSiN200 for a $200 sign-up bonus. Don't miss out. Bet smarter on the Derby with firstbet.com. To that end, we're going to have Kenny Rice join us in hour number 3 from NBC Sports to break down this race. Cannot wait to catch up with Kenny. But you haven't made any wagers yet, have you, Jensen, for the Derby?
I will not. I'll probably wait until Friday, if not Saturday morning. I know some of the odds do change. The old Lou Finicaro, wait for the weigh-ins and see what happens. So, I'm anxious to see what our experts have for us as well. When
we come back, get ready, America. Palms pressing 3. It's next here on VSiN By The Books.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Thursday edition of Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis here with you. Always love catching up with our guy, Mike Palm. You can follow Mike, as I do, on X at Mike Palm Circa. Does a great job as the VP of Operations here, and also with the D. Joins us now here on the Progressive Guest Line. Mike, before we get to Palms Pressing 3 very quickly, Jensen and I are in, and we really appreciate your help letting us know when the markets came out for the best record in May. We played them at plus 68.50 here. Were you guys a little nervy when you saw Jensen and I get in on the Reds?
No, we probably thought that we made the price too low when the two of you ran to the window. I got to tell you, this market is really fascinating, though. Like, everybody at VSiN has a different team. The odds are wildly different. I mean, Chris Bennett, I was texting, when are they going to come out? He sent me the text Tuesday at 1:30 or so, and I texted you, Dave, and I opened it up, and then I texted Chris. I said that there's a mistake. The Cubs are 4-1. He said, that's not a mistake. And then Caesars opened, the Cubs were 14-1. So, I mean, the market widely varies, and everyone has opinions. It's a really fun and growing market in baseball.
It absolutely is. I know Jensen and I were earmarking that one. We'll do it again for the rest of the summer here. But without further ado, Mike, It's time. America wants it. It's time for Palms pressing 3.
Pressing? Yes, I say it's pressing.
This is Palms Pressing 3.
My mother told me never to answer a question with a question.
Sir, my client has answered every question asked by this committee with the utmost sincerity.
All right, Jensen, here we go. Here's your layup. During tough stretches in a season, we often hear about the infamous closed-door player-only meeting. From the outside, I imagine these meetings are almost CIA-level confidential, where a few respected veterans stand up and deliver heartfelt messages about what it's going to take to turn things around, drawing from their own experience on past teams. But I've always wondered, while the respected vets are speaking, are the rest of the rank-and-file guys truly locked in? Or do they give the appearance of listening, but actually are thinking about what they're having for lunch, what club they're going to after the game, or what groupie they're going to call on the next road trip, while not remembering what was discussed 10 minutes after the important meeting concludes? Jensen, in your experience, do these meetings actually lead to meaningful change and improved performance, or are they more symbolic than effective?
It's a great question, Mikey. And the first one I was ever a part of was, I think, 3 weeks into my major league tenure when I got called up with the Indians in 2007 because Cliff Lee had thrown at Sammy Sosa in Texas. And there's a bit of a skirmish in our dugout. And when I came back in after the game, Casey Blake was waiting at our locker room door and said, hey, just go ahead and sit at your locker. We're all going to talk. And then the doors were locked. We hashed out what we needed to. And then we proceeded to go on a huge run, Mike, and win the division and get to Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. So at least that first one that I was a part of was incredibly effective. So yes, a CIA level, top secret, no doubt about it. It is eyes only, and we try and keep all that stuff in house.
Pretty good.
All right, here's a question.
Very quickly, what team needs to have that conversation, Jensen? If there's a team that has to have what Mike Palm is describing, what team needs to have that secret CIA level confidential meeting?
The Baltimore Orioles.
Yes.
I mean, and maybe it needs to happen with the front office in attendance as well. Like, what are we doing? What did you guys think was going to happen if you didn't go get frontline starting pitching? You're putting Charlie Morton in the bullpen now. Now I sound like Mike Palm going on a rant.
Great answer, Jensen, especially about the Orioles. All right, number 2. Last year, Major League players stole 3,617 bases, the highest number in more than a century. This April already exceeds last year's April 714 to 672. Runners are stealing second base with a 79.5% success rate and third base with 74.8% success rate. What is the main reason, Jensen, for this record thievery? Is it the double disengagement limit? Is it the wider bases? Or is it something else?
It's a great question too, Mikey, because I think part of it has to do with the disengagement rule now. And for a pitcher, you better have your best move going over that first time that you go over. And so the strategy ends up being for guys to know that with the bigger bases, you've got at least that much more room to have an advantage. Plus, you're not going to have to wait as long to see if a pitcher is going to come over or not. So I think the analytics guys have found that it behooves them to take more chances. And plus you have, guys that are still a bit slower to the plate. You team that with the pitch clock now, you're able to time some things up. So I think runners have really found some unique advantages and literally have taken advantage of that this year.
And very quickly, how different is it? Because for my world, it's always going to be Ricky Henderson as the preeminent base stealer. I'm watching what Ellie De La Cruz does, and it's fascinating to watch. But is it really making that big a difference historically when we look at the numbers, Jensen, that can we really compare today's era with the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll ever approach, the Ricky Hendersons, guys that are stealing 80, 90, 100 bags a year. But I mean, you saw kind of a glimpse into it there with Ronald Acuna Jr., Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, they've shown you that those upper 60s, low 70s are certainly possible. And now, will that happen again this year? I mean, I think you get to 40 or 50 and you feel pretty good about where you're at winning, those specific, statistical season-long win totals. But yeah, it's definitely more a part of the game here the last couple of years with the rule changes. No question about it.
Jensen, do you think the era of the defensive catcher is over too, and these guys are more concerned with offense? I mean, I'm watching your game last night, the Guardians game. In the top of the seventh, they stole 3 bases, I believe. I mean, on one of them, Jeffers hit Lopez, who's crouched over at the mound with his throw.
Yeah, and honestly, Mikey, when you think about where, some of the offensive, leaning guys are now, it is a bit more, if you just go over the catching position as I pull it up here for us. I think what's unique is, we looked at JT Realmuto, a handful of seasons ago, and we're like, okay, this is what you want here. You get great offense, you get great defense. Now we think of Cal Raleigh, and we think of William Contreras, Shea Langeliers. So I think that it's going to be more weighted on offense and not as defensive.
All right, final question for you. Just 3 today, very limited. Tony Gonsolin went 16-1 with the 2.14 ERA for the Dodgers in 2022. The following season, he had issues until he finally was shut down in August and had Tommy John surgery. Yesterday, he made his first Major League Baseball appearance in 20 months, giving up 3 earned runs and 6 innings with 9 Ks on 77 pitches against the Marlins. For a guy that was already 5 and dive before the surgery, how will Gonsolin's approach to pitching change post-surgery?
Thinking about what he did just in 2023 and 2022, so you had a guy that had 20 starts and 24 starts respectively. I think he's off to the proverbial great start. Again, it is the Marlins. So waiting to see here in his next couple of turns through the rotation what that might look like, Mikey. But we said at the beginning of the year, I was not high on the Dodger win total at 103, 104.5. I just felt that you could not sell me that their rotation would be healthy. And here we are. You've got at least 6 guys already on the IL from who they've run through thus far. So they're going to need Tony Gonsolin and some of these other reinforcements to be healthy.
Pretty impressive. Palms pressing 3 today, Mike. I want to ask you very quickly, if we could, in our limited time that we have. Jensen and I are going to break down the college football futures in the next segment. When you guys post those here at Circa, are people running to the window to play these markets now this early as we turn the page to May and get ready for college football season coming up in August and September?
When the most people play them is when they come out in August to sign up for the NFL contests. That's when, honestly, we get a lot of the play. It's not really that yet. Now you'll get the Paul Stones of the world coming out to play them now, but the vast majority of the action is going to come in the month of August.
All right. And again, Paul Stone, one of the sharpest guys out there. So he's going to come out here and get those good numbers while he can before Mike and the boys decide to move those. Mike, anything else? We got about 30 seconds for you here on Palms Pressing 3. We miss you in studio, and you haven't had your coffee yet. So if you got anything else you want to fire away, this is the time to do it, sir.
I would just tell you I'm on the Maple Leafs tonight. These guys have got the money. They must want to get out of town. I've never seen anything like this Toronto media. And the self-fulfilling loser philosophy. And I mean, the gloom and doom writing to their obituaries after they lost Game 5. I think it's a breath of fresh air to take that short trip to Ottawa. I took them plus 105 tonight.
How about that? Because I am so nervous, Mike, for the Maple Leafs tonight. Because I said to Jensen, I think if we wake up tomorrow and this series is over, I'd be more surprised than if it's going back for a Game 7 in Toronto. Mike, appreciate you as always, my friend. We'll get you back in studio soon, but enjoy the rest of your day.
See you next Thursday.
There he is, everybody, the great Mike Palm. Give him a follow on X at Mike Palm Circa. Jensen, you handled Palms Pressing 3, I thought, with flying colors today.
Thank you.
No problems whatsoever. Okay, when we come back, let's talk about those college football futures. They're already posted here at Circa and elsewhere. We will discuss when you come back with us right here on VSiN By The Books.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
Enjoyed the conversation, as always, with Mike Palm in the last segment. And, Jensen, we talked to Mike a little bit about with those college football numbers being posted out here. It is interesting that guys like Paul Stone, if you know Paul's great. He's just a good dude. He's going to come out here, as he does, and attack those numbers early. And it's people like a Paul Stone. They're going to help move some of those numbers. And then what happens is, as Mike Palm alluded to, people are going to come out here, say, in August, those numbers have already kind of been beaten into cement by the time you get there. So if you can find actionable spots here in May, you're probably going to be getting, hopefully, the better of the number before you get there in August. But that's why we bring you this stuff as early as we can to let you know, hey, you can play them in August if you want, but just know they're going to be hardened at that point. Not saying you can't cash them, not saying you can't win, but just know the difference in where these numbers are going to go from where they are now to what we might see. And again, you could have injuries as we go with practice, that sort of thing. There's always the concern of there when you bet this early in the season. I do feel like, look, Ohio State reigning defendings, I think we can understand why they are 5-1 here to do it 2 years in a row. Texas right there, plus 550. Georgia, we don't think they'll be too far off from being Georgia at 6-1. Oregon in the college football playoff a year ago, plus 750. There's Penn State with their talented quarterback at 8-1. And there's our first demarcation line as we jump from 8-1 all the way to 14-1 for Bama, Notre Dame, and then 20-1s for Clemson before we get to the right side of the board for everybody else at 20-1 or longer. Out of the short shots on the left side of our docket, if you're watching here at VSiN.com, where do you think there's an actionable spot? Because my eyes go to Penn State at 8-1.
Wow. Okay. I that was the one team kind of sandwiched in there, and I realized with Drew Aller, a lot's going to be made of that, and kind of where James Franklin is getting this club as close as they humanly possibly can to where Ohio State, Oregon, and Michigan may be towards the top of the Big Ten. I had the top four, and I think I circled Georgia and Oregon just because, you're looking at quarterback transitions, no more Carson Beck, no more Dylan Gabriel, kind of where do the offenses go from there, and what is the onboarding as quickly? The Ohio State-Texas matchup beginning of the year, hey, we're going to get a one-loss team right out of the chute, and will be fun to see how that matchup will be. Will be Julian Sayin there as the starting quarterback for Ohio State. Arch Manning, the odds-on favorite, as you would think, to lead Texas at the beginning of the year. By the way, they're spending upwards of $35-40 million on their roster as far as NIL is concerned. I went a little bit lower just for some value picks here, Dave. So Alabama, I think just by default, you get Ryan Williams back, arguably the best receiver in college football. Kalen DeBoer is shown that he can manage the roster, and now what will they do without Jalen Milroe at quarterback? So I think Alabama at 14-1, nice number, could be a potential hedge spot getting into the playoff. Notre Dame just getting back there, and yes, they'll have a change without Riley Leonard, but I do like them. LSU at 20-1, Ole Miss 25-1. All those teams will face quarterback transitions, but knowing that the talent and the depth there, it feels like Alabama's got a deeper roster than those four. Like if you put those four together, for me, I feel like Alabama's the deepest at this point. So out of the value selections for me, that's kind of where I would go when we get into the double digits initially.
And again, Ryan Williams, the first non-quarterback that you're going to find for Heisman Trophy at 30-1. Normally you see a non-quarterback, it's going to be 50-1. It's going to be 70. It's 30-1. So we get how talented Ryan Williams is. And again, I'm looking at this too. Drew Aller right now is 10-1, the third betting option to win the Heisman next year. Arch Manning is the short favorite here at 7-1. So look, it's Manning. We get it. That name's going to have some cachet with it. And if Arch is, who Peyton was at Tennessee, and certainly what we saw Eli down there at Ole Miss, it's going to be hard to get him off that first page of the board if he is at least 3/4 of what we all expect him to be. Nussmeier at LSU is intriguing to me because Garrett right now is the second betting choice for Heisman at 9-1, and there's Aller at 10. So LSU is 20-1 to win the national championship. If they can avoid some of those early pitfalls that they had that kind of derailed them last year. They do have a lot of talent, but I kind of look at Penn State and go, they were not the sexiest choice, and yet they're the second betting choice right now to win the Big Ten this year behind Ohio State, and yet they still got to the college football playoff. And, boy, I know it's tough for James Franklin to get over the hump there in the semis from a year ago. But if Aller's going to be that guy, to me at 8-1, I think I'd rather play a little bit, not just the shorter shots in Texas, but I wouldn't get mad at you at LSU at 20-1. Again, right, if Nussmeier is going to be the second betting choice for Heisman at 20-1, that kind of correlated play, I think there's some value in that number too.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from on that. As far as the non-quarterbacks, I know you mentioned Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith, of course, going to be in there for Ohio State
14-1, right?
Yep, it'll be jumping. But again, still, good to know here, right? Because if you're thinking about, non-quarterbacks, that those odds will plummet much quicker in seeing if some of those early breakout games, especially with the matchups. I mean, Jeremiah Smith goes out and has, 180 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns against Texas, then, obviously that's going to be one. I looked at Lenore Sellers because I also had, you talk about correlated plays. Mm-hmm. I looked a little farther down the odds board. If you're looking for some dark horse guys, I looked at South Carolina at 40-1 in the national championship market. And then, of course, with Lenore Sellers as their quarterback coming back at 20-1 in the Heisman market. It's going to be a tough SEC schedule, no doubt about it. But, man, you think about the Gamecocks getting off to a very fast start. It would probably be correlated with Lenore Sellers playing quite well. Ryan Williams would be in there for me as a dark horse. I think Kevin Jennings, looking at SMU and also knowing kind of where, the 80-1 is a severe long shot. But, hey, SMU was in the party last year. Chip in a chair is all anyone asked for with the expanded playoffs. So that's kind of where I look at it at the moment, Dave. Anyone farther down the board that kind of makes you want to jump out as well? Well,
I'll tell you this, but getting back to Jeremiah Smith at 14-1, and I get it, Ryan Williams coming off injury at 30-1, so that's why he might be a little bit longer. But I'm like, man, it's not Will Howard throwing you the football this year at Ohio State. I'll be very intrigued. To me, that number doesn't feel playable for me, and maybe Williams with the injury, we got to make sure he's 100%. In order to play that number. I probably would not look to those receivers in that market, but selfishly, that's why I asked Tim Murray yesterday about this. When I look at Syracuse, and they were my biggest play last year, they were 100-1 to win the ACC. They're 70-1 this year to win the ACC. And I do think it's been a down conference. And I know Clemson's going to be the favorites to get that done. But if Steve Angeli coming over from Notre Dame, and I'm getting really good scouting reports. We saw what he did against Penn State. And as Tim pointed out, Notre Dame doesn't beat them if he doesn't come off the bench and play as well as he did. I really like Fran Brown at Syracuse. And I'm just saying, if I'm looking for a deeper shot, not on a national championship or a college football playoff, but to maybe you just get to the ACC title game at 70-1 if you're Syracuse. And Fran Brown keeps this going in year number 2. With that momentum from year number 1. I think that could be a playable ticket for the Cuse. And again, probably look to leverage it if you can get there and hope that they can hold serve like they did pretty much last year at home. I had the one bad loss to Stanford. But I kind of look at those markets in down conferences. I don't know that I want to play Penn State as the second betting choice to win the Big Ten. If I want to take more of a longer shot, I might look to the Cuse at 70-1 for a ticket that I might be able to get some value in.
I can see that. And, again, this is the beauty of just taking your first look, all the way through here. And speaking of Notre Dame, CJ Carr guy that you'd be interested in at 40-1, if you're thinking that Notre Dame does it, is that too long of a play for you this early, or something you take a look at and kind of final away just looking at the quarterbacks headed into this market?
Don't hate it for this reason. Because Notre Dame being the outlier, not being in a conference, it actually works to their advantage. I always get on Tim every year about that, and it's kind of been a running joke here for about 4 or 5 years. But the point is, Notre Dame doesn't have to be in a conference to get to the college football playoff. And if they get there, again, with Marcus Freeman and C.J. Carr leads them to that, he's going to get shorted in that marketplace at 40-1. So it is, to me, advantageous to have as awful a home loss as they had last year against Northern Illinois early in the year. And I was, doing the show that day with JVT, and we kind of couldn't believe what we were watching. And yet they end up in the college football playoff with one of the worst home losses of all time that you're going to see. CJ Carr 40-1. If they don't have another one of those situations, and even with it, they still made it last year. I like where your head's at there because, again, do that math. You probably have to be in the college football playoff if you're a quarterback of one of these high-profile teams to even be eligible, I would think, to win the Heisman Trophy. Sharp Plays, by the way, you can get that right now. SharpPlays.com if you've not checked it out before. So they've been doing this since 2011. Unmatched transparency with records updated daily. AI betting analysis, real-time global betting info, alerts directly from the pros when you go to sharpplays.com. They are respected, watched, and feared. Sharpplays.com.